from home. But yeah, I mean, all the years that I've been here, it's been bitterly cold, but we've never had anything coming in like this, and sadly it will affect the crowds, yeah, coming in to watch.
Cole, you're probably a bit more accustomed to this sort of weather. What do people do when a foot of snow falls in central New York City, Manhattan area, and in the suburbs? I think it's going to be, you know,
it'll be higher.
Two foot or so.
Well, fortunately, not a lot of people drive here. You do rely on public transport, mainly the subways. But even the subways will get affected, I think. So I live on the 7 train, and that one runs outdoors. So I think I could be struggling a little bit. I may have to camp out in someone's room or something just to make sure I'm here.
Plenty of room.
But I mean, what we can do is have snowball fights, which I'm up for, and also make snowmen. What do you think?
Okay.
I'd love to launch a snowball at a few people.
Let's have a look at the order of play as well at the same time. Here we go. Here's what we've got coming your way today. 8 matches in round 2 of the tournament. As I said, it's the last 16. Let's focus on the top half of those with the likes of Gregoire Marche taking on Karim Gawad, a former winner here in 2017. Nour El Shabini, a 5-time winner. She's in action. Jonah Bryant making his debut here at the Tournament of Champions and flying the flag for England, as is Jasmine Hutton against Gilis in that first match of the day as well. So a nice ripe picking of matches to get our teeth stuck into there, Nicole.
Certainly are. I'm looking forward to Gilis and Hutton. I think that's going to be really interesting because Hutton, she's knocking on the door of the top 16 there. She rarely loses to anyone ranked below her, and in those 50-50 matchups where it could go either way, she's got a pretty good success rate as well.
Joey, what stands out for you there?
I mean, you know, looking throughout the whole list, but the first part, Jonah Bryant, Timmy Brownell, that's a really big opportunity for either player. And Jonah's draws are opening up quite nicely. This is his first, as Nicole said, first time actually on the glass court here as well. So I think that will be fireworks with those two.
Youssef Ibrahim, great little player, left-hander. We saw him on great form earlier in the tournament. He's safely through to round 2, so let's reflect on some of his talent. He'll be taking on Gawad a little bit later on in the day, but this was him in action against Ali Abu Elainin and Abelgar, sorry, and yeah, good performance from him.
It was. It went back and forth quite a bit. The rallies were exciting, as we always knew they were going to be. Both of these players are very explosive, and they certainly don't shy away from attacking the front of the court. But ultimately, you have to say it was Ibrahim who managed to have that crucial comeback when he was down 6-2 in the second game. He was down 1-love as well, and it was just like a flip switched for him in his mind. Sorry, a switch flipped for him in his mind. You know where I was going. Yeah. And yeah, he just knew that was the turning point, and he didn't look back after that one.
Is that just the experience that he's built up on the tour to date, that he's able just to flick that switch, Joe?
I mean, he had a great back end of last year, taking out Paul Cole twice and getting to that final where he lost out to Asal in Hong Kong. There's a maturity coming into his game, which is great to see. So coupled with his gunslinging, quick hands and amazing attacks around the court, a bit more discipline and calmness to the back of the court, a bit more basic game. So it's really good to see it all come to fruition, because he made big big ambitions for this season, wanting to get in the top 3.
Just remind us of that. This was just ahead of the beginning of the season, but I know we talked about it a bit ahead of the US Open in Philadelphia. But just remind everyone watching exactly sort of what he said, and is he delivering on that promise?
Well, he said he wanted to get into the top 3, and at the time, when we were talking about it, the London Classic, the first event of the season, I thought that was going to be a real tough call. But with you don't realise things that are happening with injuries. Obviously, Diego missing a massive amount. Joel Makin, who's had an absolute nightmare with injuries and some slightly poor performances for him. So it does open up. And now we've got Ibrahim playing the squash that I'd expect to see from him. So he's got a great opportunity. I don't know if he'll go top 3, but he'll certainly get into possibly top 5, which will give him another stepping stone for the next season.
Well, I think something that's really encouraging for Ibrahim is, as Joey mentioned, the consistency that he's bringing. He was able to back up getting to the final of the Hong Kong Football Club Open, which was a silver event in December, which ended 2 days before the Hong Kong Platinum. So not a lot of rest time. And then he was actually able to make the final of that Hong Kong Platinum. So that's a lot of matches within just 2 weeks. So,
well, he played China before that as well.
And China as well, which he also reached the final. So it's a lot of matches, and no bad losses in there, really. I mean, you could argue that the match against Abelgar, he would have, should have won that on paper, but it went down to the wire. It was close, and yeah, it was, up there for the taking. A good performance from him all around.
And you mentioned Diego Elias and Joel Makin. Diego is here this week in New York, but no Joel Makin.
No Joel Makin, which is sad to see. Again, it was a massive opportunity for him to move up in the rankings. Hopefully it's nothing too serious, and he'll be back in in the mix for the next events. But the big challenge for me is going to come from probably Diego to Asal, but we've got a good match coming up today as well.
Yeah, Mostafa Asal in action against Mohamad Zakaria. That is the big one that everyone's talking about. So let's preview that a little bit as well here in this show. Could be quite spicy. They've got a bit of history, both of these two players, on the PSA Squash Tour. So let's just dissect this one, Nicole.
I mean, I am of the view that coming into this match, the ref and these guys need to take an approach of no touching.
Okay.
I think that they need to go in and pretend they're wearing those fencing suits, and if you get hit by the sword, that you get dinged a point or something. I think that's what they need to do, because otherwise you can see here there's just so much contact that goes on sometimes almost every shot in a rally, and that doesn't happen with a lot of squash players. I mean, Joey, you've played in countless matches in your time. How often would you have this pushing and this shoving when you're hitting a shot or about to hit a shot?
I never moved, so I struggled to get anywhere, but I just rugby tackle people. But I mean, looking at Zakaria just practicing earlier, he's grown again. He's still a teenager, and he's growing. So when they last played, which was in Qatar back in 2024, he was obviously a lot smaller, a lot younger. Now he's got more physicality to his size. But I mean, I just hope we get a crack at it. It's going to be a lot of eyes on this match for sure. You've got the world junior champion taking on the current world champion, both from Egypt. It's a great billing so early on in an event.
And what should be happening when we're talking about contact and that area that I guess you're trying to protect on the tee that's quite visible for newcomers to squash? What don't we like and what do we want to see?
I mean, you're always going to get contact. It's just players being able to get through and play the ball. The other side of the coin is the situation when a player hits an awful shot and then there's a hit down the line straight or whatever, and then you get this situation where the player's asking for a let, expects to get the let because that player's just played a really good shot for a bad shot, and you've got that other side which is very hard to kind of to translate, but it's more just letting each of them go through and play the ball and not kind of stand over the ball too much, and no subtle movements, but we'll see.
Yeah, there's a fine line between taking your space and actually not impeding yourself by making yourself too narrow and hitting a worse shot, not bending your knees and those sorts of things. There's a fine line between that and then taking too much space and what we say sometimes blocking, or trying to move your body into a position that then makes the player have to take the long way around, as we say in squash.
Players are getting frustrated. There's a pattern of players getting more frustrated, and I can see it as well as an ex-player. It's like, where are you meant to move?
Yeah.
So when that shot's hit down the middle and you wrap it down the line away from your opponent, where are you meant to go? You can't just get in the towel box and hide at the front of the court. So where are you meant to go? And that is frustrating. Mohamad was talking about it yesterday, and from a player's perspective, I really do understand that. So the rules are, it's not this black and white situation, and we will just get a let. There should just be at times a let. That's just the way we are with squash, with two players in a court. They're not separated by a net. Sometimes it's just a let.
Is it going to be easy to police this one for the officials?
I think this is going to be tough. I think they're going to want to really utilize the video referee here today just to be able to see what's going on there. But and then putting in probably the code of conduct as early as possible, and just setting out the stall really early on. The earlier you have those expectations set for the players, the better it'll be.
Okay, let's stay with Mohamad Zakaria, and another one of his challenges this season, and probably for many years to come, will be Jonah Bryant making his debut here on this event here at the Sprott Tournament of Champions. But let's remind ourselves of that rivalry, and we'll talk a little bit about the nuts and bolts of these two going face to face.
I'm Jonah Bryant, world number 13.
I'm Mohamad Zakaria, world number 11.
So when did you first step on court with Mohamad Zakaria?
It was our British Open last 16.
No, British Junior Open 2023. Yeah, that's our first match together.
I managed to beat him that day 3-1, yeah.
It was a pretty pivotal moment for me, actually, because I realized the amount of work I needed to do, and I thought I was at a certain level that I wasn't really at yet.
Do you think there could be a rivalry between the two of you going into the future?
I always knew, to be honest. I mean, it's quite drawn to be something like this, and I think it's going to be the rivalry of world number 1 and 2 soon to come. I know for sure.
Not really. I thought he's going to be a great player in the future, and he'll obviously get up there. So if I want to be up at the top of the game, he'll be there, kind of thing. But I never thought that there would just be a kind of head-to-head
Talk us through that match in Qatar.
It was a big opportunity to get to the semi, and it was also a big opportunity to obviously play him in a platinum. I knew obviously a lot of people were interested in the match. He started off well, it was a tough first game, then I started really well in the second, let him back in, and then I just kept looking at the clock as the match went on. And it was the duration was just going on and on. It was probably the toughest physical match, or the longest match I played. It was a nice feeling to come out on top. I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much if I lost. So.
I still believe that if I haven't done these movement at times, I would have won the match in 3. It was a good match. Obviously, he played well, but I knew that after the match, if I wouldn't have done these stupid things, I would have won. We would play 20,000 different matches after this one. I wasn't really worried about it, or no, I was just happy for this challenge, and I know how it would be. And I'm even more excited for the ones to come.
What's your ranking goal for the end of the season, and do you think you're going to be ranked higher than him?
I've never really had a ranking goal, to be honest, apart from obviously getting to #1, hopefully at some point.
Well, I would say ranking goal is to finish in the top 8, and I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, he knows all right. Certainly got ambitions for that world #1 spot. Great to see them both there side by side. Obviously filmed separately, but amazing to see them together, and a budding rivalry that we hope will blossom over years to come, Nicole.
It really is. That match in Qatar, that said it all. There was a lot of, as Zakaria said, he shouldn't have made some of those movements, and that's kind of what we were saying just a couple minutes earlier about Asal. Are we going to be seeing that today? Whereas Jonah Bryant, he has a different demeanor, you'd have to say, where he doesn't have any of those issues with the movement, but terrific court craft as well.
Yeah, and also he's feisty. His dad's quite feisty, and he balances himself very well in terms of his attitude on court. But he's got a bit of an edge to him, which you need against the Egyptian players that are so aggressive and are so up for it. So he's got the right balance to go all the way to the top with his attitude. And you saw the pictures there, and he's clenching his fist in the face of Mohamad Zakaria, who does that a lot to other opponents.
He'll do that from the
get-go. But he balances it well, Jonah, so he doesn't do this ridiculous celebration early doors in a game. It's at the right times. Which I like, So coupled with all his court craft, it's great for England squash. Thank goodness we've got a young player coming through, and he stays healthy and keeps improving and moving up the rankings.
And still, the young end of the scale on the tour. Mohamad, 18 years of age, and Jonah's just 20, just 2 years older. They said there, potential world #1 and world #2. Is that accurate?
It certainly could be. They're just Zakaria still in the juniors, and then Jonah Bryant just out of it, and they're very close in the rankings. Jonah Bryant's got up to 13 in the world, and Zakaria, he's now in the top 10. So I think that certainly, by the end of the season, you heard Zakaria saying he wanted to be in the top 8. I think that's achievable for him if he continues these results, and Bryant probably potentially as well, especially seeing how the older crew in the top 10 on the men's side, how they fare over the next few months in the next seasons.
Yeah, obviously Asal's not exactly old.
He's 24.
Yeah, he's early 20s, mid-20s. But, in terms of the aging circuit, I don't see any other players kind of around that age that would probably go to the very top. I hope I'm proved wrong, because that means we've got more players in the mix, but all eyes are definitely on those two.
How long for that transition before we see them there inside the top 5?
They're rocketing. Zakaria, he's going to be very close to top 8. When we were doing our predictions, who might be going in, I think Johnny Williams, I'll give him a plug, he'll love that, got Zakaria in his top 8, and he's flying through. Jonah's not far behind, so if it's not the back end of this season, it's certainly going to be towards the second part of next season.
Okay, well, someone that we've missed this season is Rowan Elaraby. She caught up with Vanessa Atkinson earlier in the day to give us a little bit of an update.
It's nice to see you. Obviously, we were hoping we'd see you on court this week. Can you, just before we talk about what's happening now, can you take us back to May, to the World Championships, the original sort of diagnosis of the injury, and at what point you sort of realised how serious it was?
Yeah, first of all, it's really nice to be talking to you again. In May, I was playing to be in a place for quarterfinals in the Worlds, and I think I was playing one of my best squash ever, I think. But yeah, at the time I didn't know what really happened. It's just it was a very small twist inside the shoe, and I just didn't think it's going to be a big injury. I went to do X-ray right away, and then nothing was found in the bones, and yeah, they said everything was gonna be fine. It was just like very swollen, so I couldn't walk, couldn't do anything until I was back home. 3 weeks later, I kept doing MRIs. Nothing was found because my foot was very swollen, so I had to take injections to, you know, bring it back to the normal size to be able to find what's going on. But yeah, then I found out I have a fracture in my second metatarsal bone, which connects the first 2 toes with the rest of the foot. Yeah, it was honestly shocking to know. I think I was in denial for a couple of weeks, to say the least, and then I had to decide surgery in 2 days, which was a big decision for me, because I was trying to find another solution, but there wasn't. But yeah, I mean, it was a very tough time and shocking. It felt like a huge setback. At the time, it felt like starting over. Everything felt wrong. But yeah, I thought I was gonna be playing here this time of the year, but yeah, it's just like a very rare condition that I have, and we're still exploring what to do with it. Yeah. You know, it's not common, so there is no I can't see, for example, an example to look at and find out what they've done to make the process faster. So
it's been difficult to predict.
Yeah,
at what point
exactly,
you'll be able to come back.
Exactly. So yeah, I've been trying, and it's working well, thankfully.
Yeah, and how have you found that mentally? Obviously, having such a long layoff, watching everyone else still competing, and sort of being stuck on the sidelines. Have there been any positives that you've been able to take from that? Obviously, spending a bit more time maybe at home in Egypt and with friends and family.
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, I don't think I've found anything positive about the entire situation. It was brutal, honestly, and with the pain and everything, I couldn't think except negatively. And obviously, with the start of the season and everything, it felt, I was angry, I would say. But then now I'm really happy to be here watching the tournament and, you know, getting in touch with everyone, seeing everyone. This time I feel like I'm happy to be watching, because I feel like I'm almost ready to be back on court.
And obviously you pulled out of this event just ahead of coming to New York. Will you still play Chicago, just a couple of weeks away?
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I think I'm in the right direction, so I'm hoping so, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, you're very much missed. It's great to talk to you.
Thank you.
Fingers crossed for Chicago.
Thank you so much, Vanessa.
Yeah, thanks very much to Vanessa, who's joining us here in the studio. Now, great to catch up with Rowan Elaraby. We can't wait to have her back on the tour with us. What other little tiny bits of information did you get from her during that interview?
I think mainly just how devastating that injury was, and the timing of the injury particularly. She just got back to highest world ranking of 7 at the beginning of last year. She was starting to make moves. You know, she was sort of in that chasing pack, as we call it, taking games off the top players, but hadn't maybe quite fulfilled her promise, because don't forget, she was the best player coming out of Egypt as a junior. She was a double world junior champion. She beat Hania El Hamami in both of those finals. In that sort of group with Satomi Watanabe, Subramaniam, and she was at the top of the pile, and she was the youngest of those players as well. And then sort of maybe got slightly overtaken, didn't quite get to where maybe she hoped to get to, but she was starting to get there, and then obviously an injury like that is so devastating.
And she trains this side of the pond as well, doesn't she, for us, certainly in the UK when we come over. And she's based down near Miami,
Florida.
just outside?
Yeah, just outside Miami with Wael Hindi, where there's a lot of players that go down and train there. Amanda Sobey's based there. Sabrina sometimes goes down there as well, her sister. And then, of course, Hannah Moataz. And yeah, there's a Jasmine Hutton. I could go on for
Have
it.
you
But
played
it's a
her?
good
Have you
training
played
base.
Rowan Elaraby?
You know, I think the last time I played Rowan Elaraby was when she won her first title, or one of her first titles. And this was back in 2016.
Yeah.
Actually 2017 in a 5K. I played her in the final, and then she went on to win a 10K the next week in Charlottesville. So yeah, she was definitely on the rise. I knew that was going to be a tough one. It was just one of those situations where you could tell, like Vanessa was saying, she was actually a junior at the time, and you could tell that she was going to be rising to the top pretty quickly. So she'll
be back.
She'll be back.
So Chicago, it sounded like she's going to come back and try and play that tournament. I guess what does she have to be mindful of going, you're not going to 100% trust the recovery, or do you just go in and give it everything?
I mean, it's going to take time. When I say she'll be back, I mean, you know, possibly next season. Hopefully she'll be able to compete the rest of this season, but back to full fitness hopefully next season. But she's still young. She's only 25 years old. And what we've often seen in the past is that players have these big injuries sort of halfway through their career. And actually there's a big silver lining there. There's sort of almost an appreciation that comes with it. Their body gets a rest, especially those Egyptian players that have been on tour from such a young age. Sometimes that can really help them in terms of the longevity of their career. There's sort of a mental freshness, and it's good for their body as well to have a long rest.
Might even be a gold lining as well, with LA 2028 on the horizon in a couple of summers' time.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, all the Egyptians are going to have their work cut out for them, definitely going into that one, seeing as there might only be 2 players from each country going. That seems
Are we still any closer to getting a confirmation of the structure of the Olympics and any of that? It just seems like we still don't know.
Someone might be, but we haven't been informed.
We'd love to know. We'd love to know. When do you expect they'll make a decision like that?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we get some information every few months.
This is our job. We need to go and get that information. Let's sniff around here in New York City and see if we can find out. Anahat Singh has also impressed this season. She's safely through to round 2, and we can't wait to see her later today. Let's just remind you of some of her stats and credentials and look at her in action here. This is from the Canadians Women's Open in 2025.
This was really terrific from Anahat Singh. I remember watching this one. Alves was really surprised because it was a complete change in tactics from Anahat Singh. You can see the way she plays here. She's pretty relaxed with her demeanor, and then she comes out with all of these different sorts of shots, like cross-court drops from behind her opponent. She'll take in the kill from the back of the court. She'll whip in boasts, and she just looks like she's going to attack from the very first point, and when she's got no business doing it.
No,
so
she's incredible.
She's really, really difficult to play against, and I don't really know anyone, Vanessa, who plays like that on the women's tour.
The only people I can remember that played a little bit like that are the sort of former top Indian women, Deepika Palakal, Joshna Chinappa, that incredibly attacking style of play, just going for it. And she already has that, but she also has an edge to her. She knows how to win matches.
She's very feisty.
She's feisty. She needs to develop still physically, but she's working with Greg Gauthier now, and he'll certainly help her in that area and sort of work on that other side of the game where she comes up against the better players. She's going to have to be able to defend as well. You can't just continually attack. But she's incredible. You know, she's another sort of prodigy, possibly only outdone by Amina Orfi in terms of what she's already achieved at 17. It's incredible. Big junior titles already. Missed out at the British Junior Open, surprisingly, but she's got another year. She'll have another crack at the World Junior Champs as well, and she's inside the top 30.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Playing in the highest world ranking today around sort of 7:30ish, she'll take on Satomi Watanabe. So that'll be a good challenge for her as well.
It really will be. I'm interested to see how she deals with the pace of Watanabe, because Anahat Singh, she does really like to wind up and have a pretty big swing, and I do wonder if Watanabe's pace that she plays with is going to challenge that and tuck her up in the back corners. But she's very unconventional on how she plays, so I think she's going to find some winners and pose some problems for Watanabe. But ultimately, I do think Watanabe, she's too experienced now, she's too consistent. I think that she won't be too phased either by all the different angles coming her way.
Satomi having a great season as well, Vanessa.
She is, and I think she's got the experience now to deal with a player like Anahat Singh, who's going to come out and attack. She'll expect that, but I think she'll be able to put the ball in good enough areas that will make that style of play difficult for the youngster, and she'll be forced to defend, and she's not good enough yet at that. So I do think Watanabe's going to come through, but it's going to be interesting to see.
Let's spend a little time with the Frenchman Gregoire Marche and talk a bit about him. Another one of those players toward the sort of top end of the age scale for some of these players, but still delivering the goods. Took out Gawad last year. We'll face Gawad again later today in our 4th match of the day, just around 2:45ish. But let's reflect on that moment from last year's Tournament of Champions.
Well, it was a good start to 2026 for Gregoire Marche. As you said, both these players 34, 35 years old, so they're getting up there. But I think one thing that has served Marche really well is that he's learned how to adapt his training. I was actually just speaking with him about it last week in Cleveland, where he made the semifinals, and he was saying that he's not spending quite as much time on court, but he's playing golf, he's cycling, and he's making a lot more use of his time when he is on court. So that's why he's able to come out and still have this joy and this love for competing, which you can see.
Yeah, he's playing incredibly well, you know, both in their mid-30s. A player like Greg Marche has always had that unbelievable movement on court. He's maybe lost a little bit of the explosive movement, but because of his build, he still moves better than, you know, a lot of players 10 years younger. So he's always difficult to play. He brings that bit of sort of French flair to the court, which is always entertaining for the crowds. And it's going to be interesting. I do think that Gawad's going to be he's going to be really up for this, considering the loss last year. You won't be able to tell because it's Gawad, but inside he will be really up for it, and that will help him. Again, he was ready for his first round against Elanine because he knew it was going to be tough. And I think the fact that he lost to Marche last year will help him be ready again. Yeah,
that one finished 3-2, and it was a great match as well. So we're hoping for more of the same there. So Marche, a two-time quarter-finalist at the TOC, and Gawad as well, one of those players that won it. That was back in 2017. So I mean, that's another firework match to look forward to.
I think so. I mean, they'll be very familiar with each other's games, obviously being in the same age group and having spent a lot of time on tour together. And Greg Marche in particular, he's going to play up to the crowd, I think, as Vanessa was saying. He has a lot of that flair, that French flair, and he's moving well, which is good to see. And you know, sometimes injuries can pick up, especially at this stage in the season and probably this stage in the career as well. But coming off of Cleveland, where he had a good performance, and he lost out to Paul Cole, actually stretched him to 4 games. The only person who was able to do that, I think we're going to see a good showing tonight. Okay, just a quick word on our first match of the day as well, as Tina Gilis up against Jasmine Hutton. So let's just preview that. We've got a couple of minutes before we switch over to SQUASH.TV. If you haven't got your TV subscription, now's the time to do that. So Gilis versus Hutton, Belgium versus England. Tee that one up for us, Vanessa.
It's a really interesting one, actually, because it's quite heavy in favour of Gilis on the head-to-heads. But if you look at their last 2 meetings, Jazz Hutton had a win both this season at the London Classic, and then at the US Open, Jazz Hutton was 2-1 up, and then she got injured, or she was close to 2-1 up, I think. And she was looking like she was going to take that match, so potentially she could have had the last 2 wins against Gilis. It gets a little bit niggly as well between the two. I don't get the impression that they get on particularly well, which always adds a bit of interest.
But I was going to say that, and then the contrast of styles as well. And then you got the righty versus the lefty, but what I think we need to look out for is Gilis's knee. It was strapped up the other day in her first match, and she didn't look entirely comfortable in the first game. After that, her movement improved a lot, but Jasmine Hutton, she's really going to be looking to fire the ball in and test those movements for Gilis. So for me, the question mark is, how is Gilis's knee feeling?
And I guess Jasmine Hutton's ankle as well. That's the other area. But the recovery's been fine for Jazz, as far as you know.
Yes, and she was back quite quickly. It was sort of less than a month later she was competing again. So I think she'll be absolutely fine. I haven't seen much of her more recently, but I think she'll have a good go. She knows she can beat Gilis. She's beaten her at European Team Championships as well, sort of non-PSA matches. So I think it's going to be I think this could be a really good match. Could be close.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks very much, Vanessa. Thanks, Nicole. Vanessa, I know you're a commentary team in this first one alongside Jana Shiha. So hop on over now to SQUASH.TV to join us there. Nicole and I are going to stick around and preview that first match and have a look ahead to day 3. It's round 2. We're into the last 16. So come and join us here at Grand Central Terminal.